Somehow, the rings of power have returned. This despicable show of fan fiction, of worse than fan fiction, a deliberate steaming dump on the legacy of the great J.R.R. Tolkien. Season 2 is coming at the end of August, and I am so ready to tear into it one more time! Hi there everyone, Lars here from Camille's Harem, not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers, because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends, and before I really dive into just all of the awfulness that was here on the screen with this teaser trailer, I just want to point out the fact that right after this teaser trailer dropped, HBO Max dropped the trailer for Season 2 for House of the Dragon, which, if you know me, you know that I love tearing into George R. R. Martin and Game of Thrones, but holy cow, that looked incredible compared to this junk. Holy cow, that's Shakespeare. And actually, House of the Dragon is very well received. It looks pretty good, so I'm pretty excited for that. Rings of Power, on the other hand, let's just throw this back into Mount Doom and hope that the volcano doesn't cough it up because it's so toxic and vile. Moving into Season 2 for the Rings of Power, there's a couple of things that we need to acknowledge about this so-called adaptation. And it is this, that it is so far removed from the actual canon of Lord of the Rings, of Tolkien's grandiose, epic Middle-earth, that this might as well be its own fantasy show. It's just stealing the names and some of the maps in order to let this story happen. There's very, very, very little that is canonical at all within this show. And you can go back and you can watch all of my long, elaborate breakdowns and analyses of the previous season where I am fair. I say, look, that was canon accurate. That was canon accurate. That was canon accurate. And there's so little. You could take everything that is canon accurate minus the names of the characters and cram it all into about 3 minutes worth of the entire first season. So, as an adaptation of Tolkien's Legendarium, the Rings of Power is less than worthless. They might as well have just thrown all of this money, $1 billion+ at not only just coming up with their own amazing story, but making Sauron actually look like a Maiar. For crying out loud, Peter Jackson, over 2 decades ago, with his crew, managed to make Galadriel look like one of the most beautiful, angelic beings of all time, and she's just a high elf. She's not a Maiar. She's not a Valar. She's beautiful, but Sauron, at the height of his powers, when he shows himself to be Anatar to the Noldor and begins to teach them the art of ring crafting, he should be one of the most beautiful, angelic, and just most awe-inspiring beings of all time. Not this 5-headed pseudo-elf. You mean to tell me that you had no money left in the budget either for CGI or for practical effects to make him look like an actual awesome elf, or at least hire another actor or actress to look like an incredible angelic elfine being? But no, that would take more than just 2 brain cells to rub together, which J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay just happen to have between themselves. And yes, I am going to be a little insulting towards them, because remember this, by the book, go back to the book, go back to the book.
1, always back to Tolkien, and 2, go back to the book, go back to the book, go back to the book.
So yeah, about going back to the book, remind me again just how Mordor was created in 1 day's time?
One, always back to Tolkien, and 2, go back to the book, go back to the book, go back to the book.
Oh, and remind me again, where is Galadriel's daughter in all of this? You know, the one that Elrond should be married to and already have children with at this time in the history of Middle-earth?
Go back to the book, go back to the book, go back to the book.
And where's Celeborn in all of this? As the Lord of Lothlorien, and as the husband to Galadriel, and easily one of the luckiest sons of guns in all of Middle-earth, where is this guy? One of the most legendary warriors of all time. One of the wisest elves. What was it you guys said of him again within the show?
And my husband, Celeborn. We met in a glade of flowers. The war seemed so very far away then. When he went to it, I chided him. His armor didn't fit properly.
The enemy knows you have entered here. Tell me, where is Gandalf? For I much desire to speak with him. I can no longer see him from afar.
Go back to the book, go back to the book, go back to the book.
Look, we could be here for literally hours going over every single small detail that the Rings of Power got wrong. And if you want a refresher of just how awful the first season was as an adaptation of Tolkien's Middle-earth, again, you can go back and you can check out all of my videos that I did. With the preview video, with a video for every single episode, with a wrap-up, and with insights for writers. There was actually a whole lot to mine out of the Rings of Power. Unfortunately, a lot of it was just bad. So, you know what? Rather than just being that guy, that Tolkien fan, who is going to dedicate this channel to destroying the Rings of Power in Amazon Prime for their evil deeds, and to take J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay and throw them into the deepest depths of Barad-dûr and torture them for time immemorial, no! We are actually going to dial it back a little bit. Yes, there will be rage when rage needs to be had. However, let's actually be a little bit smart right here. Let's be proper novice authors, and let's actually try to find, again, what we can use to be helpful to all of our fellow authors out there on the interwebs. When Season 2 for the Rings of Power premieres, I will be evaluating the Rings of Power not as an adaptation of J.R.R. Tolkien's work, because it is just so far removed from it, but I will talk about it as an original piece of fiction. Let's be fair. J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay have said that they've toiled and labored for so long to have this moment to tell a story that they wish to tell. Okay then. How do you do? You have a contract to deliver 5 seasons of this show. The first season lost about 66-67% of its audience over the course of the season. And while the critics may have just absolutely loved the Rings of Power, the fans destroyed it, demolished it, and novice authors such as myself came and tore it to pieces. Well, you've had time to put together a second season. Can you improve? Have you improved? As an adaptation of J.R.R. Tolkien's work, we all know this is going to be an absolutely abysmal failure. But as an original piece of fiction, can it work? Can it succeed? I will be there to go over every single episode and see just how good the story is that they are going to tell in the second season. If it absolutely fails, I will be there to explain every single reason why it does. And if it succeeds, I will be there to tell you why, as an original piece of fiction, the show works. And now, let's just be even more charitable than J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay and Amazon's Rings of Prime deserve. What if they try to actually get back onto the road of canon, of accurate lore? I highly doubt that that's where they're going, but let's say that they try. Well, before the next season premieres, I will have a special video talking about what would need to be done to get us back onto the right path. It's so easy for us fans to sometimes just say, look, Just adapt what Tolkien actually wrote and stick to that. And then build it up where you can, where you need to, because he didn't write that much about the Second Age, which is why you guys took it, because you didn't want to be lore accurate. But adhere to that, forget everything you did in season 1, and then it will all turn out well. Well, it's easy to say that. But the honest truth of the matter is that if you change things so radically without actually doing some in-story work to try to get yourself back on the correct path, it's going to be such major whiplash to the audience that for those few people who did enjoy the first season of Rings of Power, it's going to take them completely out of the experience, and you're going to lose the audience that is left. And how many true blue fans are going to be willing to actually suffer through season 1 just so that way they can enjoy season 2? No, that's not the way that this works. You can, within a story, make the proper corrections to get you back on the right path. However, that will involve some more fan fiction shenanigans in order to make that work out. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take some of my precious time, and go over what they could do within the story to get us back on track. What can we do to redeem Galadriel? Because, I mean, it's Galadriel, for crying out loud. One of the coolest characters that Tolkien wrote. So let's see what we can do to get her right back on track. What can we do about the Númenóreans that actually makes them feel like Númenóreans for a change? And what can we do with this abysmal change to the origins of Mithril and Mordor? Well, you might not be able to necessarily retcon that. However, there are ways that you can make it more engaging, more interesting, and more lore accurate, so that way you can say, okay, we did do that, but now we're going to focus on this, which is way more in line with the books.
Go back to the book, go back to the book, go back to the book.
So yes, JD Payne and Patrick McKay, I will be going back to the books to fix your mistakes. So, if you are interested in seeing what that's going to be like, then I highly recommend that you subscribe if you haven't already done so. Make sure that you like this video, that you comment, let me know what you are looking for, what you are dreading for a season 2 of the Rings of Power. And if you actually want to see some videos that aren't going to make you just flip out with rage because of what Amazon did to Tolkien's Middle-earth, I do have a number of videos already done about what Tolkien did and what is so great about the works that Tolkien has written and his contributions to modern fiction. I think that you will really, really enjoy them. I'll have links for them in the description, and one also linked here at the end of the video. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us on this incredible adventure that we call writing. Sometimes it intersects with journeys and pathways of people who have done horrible things with their own stories, but it is all part of the learning process to help us make the stories that we need to make. So, with all that being said, until the next video, y'all, tschüss.